Crush. That's the name of the filter. Crush. Bubbles. I love it. Dance filter. Glamour filter. 8mm filter. I love it. Silver filter. Crush. I've landed on crush. Crush filter. Okay. So. I love dead air. Space. Between. Words. It's fun. And I have a fan going on above my head. But I'm reminding myself as I begin this live is that I don't have to explain nothing to nobody. It's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten. Like, for example, I don't have to explain who I just bent over. No one needs to know. No one needs to know what's in this cup, but I want to. There's coffee. My life is fun. I can do whatever I want within reason. Really can do whatever I want, but there is consequences if I break the law, so I don't do that. I love my life. Ha! Sometimes when I'm drinking things, I start laughing. Oh, yes. I love to have the freedom to just have dead air. I love it so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, my good friend, who will remain nameless, talks about something. I didn't think of it this way, but I love the way he says it. He says, people are never bored anymore. And I love it because I love to be bored. I love boredom because it's unknown territory. We don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. There's free time, there's space, there's margin. It's so fun, boredom, because in my life, what I've noticed is there's so much excitement going on at all times that I could use a little boredom. One of the phrases that comes to mind is fear of missing out. FOMO. Fear of missing out. That is funny. People have a fear of missing out. So I'm not making fun of people that have that. I am challenging the concept. Why would we be fearful of missing out when my guess is that people have so much activity going on all the time? Stimulation, activity, 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 activity. That once it stops, they're like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? The thoughts are coming. Unconscious thoughts come. That's what I think. People, now, it can be very painful when you've never stopped to let your thoughts go through. You ever heard of the phrase, stop to smell the roses? That is literally something we can do whenever we want within reason. If you're driving a car and you're on the freeway, please don't stop to smell the roses. You could upset the whole, it could be dangerous and life threatening. But we can stop within reason at any time. Now, if you work a job where you can't stop to smell the roses, there's a problem. I've worked jobs like that. I no longer do. Never again. I will never work a job. I can't believe this, but I actually had a conversation where a former employer, I brought it up. I said, there has to be some kind of break. We're allowed a break. And I was almost reprimanded for that. And my employer said, "Well, it sounds like you just don't want to work." What? In my prior life as a teenager, not that I don't, if I had past lives, I don't know. I don't remember any of them. But in my life as a teenager, younger years, younger than today, I was championed as someone. People said no one works harder than Matt. Oh my gosh, I am a hardworking person. So it wasn't that I didn't want to work. It's that I believe that it is important to have time to stop and pause. Now this was at a coffee shop, so it's understandable that there's been times I've seen people at work a job where there's a line of people waiting for their coffee and they're just over there taking their sweet time. Look like they're I'm just moving as slow as possible. That is a different sort of problem. That sounds like a person that's just anything but thrilled. They're not thrilled to be there. They're not thrilled to be working there. But when I love what I'm doing and I want a pause for a break where I can just kidding. I don't smoke. I don't smoke those things. I don't smoke plants. I don't smoke herbs. I don't smoke anything. But if people want to take a break for a meal or to just breathe, to have a break from a long line of people that need food or coffee or something, that sounds reasonable. There has to be built in breaks. I worked in a corporate situation. It was a restaurant, but it was owned by a corporation. And they, even on the busiest days, there were built in breaks because we had a number of people that were working as servers, and we would just rotate breaks. And so, if you wanted to, you could actually say, well, I want to make a lot of money, so I'm going to take my break early or later. And so, but everyone got a break, so it was wonderful. So even in a busy place, you can have breaks. And in fact, a someone, a manager or a store owner, a business owner, knows that people are more productive when they've had a chance to sit down and breathe and slow down for a minute. So I love dead air. I love to talk about it because there's just so many good reasons for it. The unknown, the break, the time to think, to let ourselves think, to let our thoughts come. That is nothing to fear. Now, with that, a lot of people experience fear. Their trauma comes up during that time when they have time to think. So I'm not saying it's impossible to fear, but with training, when you give yourself time to explore the unknown, what I've found is that there's nothing to fear. Meaning, if we're imagining, if we're daydreaming in our meditation time or our breathing time, and we're imagining a scenario, the people that are in that dream can't reach out and grab you. The only thing that can happen is we can feel fearful. So it's something that's worth working on. It's like mental rehearsal, it's practice for the rest of life. If we're daydreaming and we're imagining things that are coming at us that look like monsters, it's a chance to notice that, to feel what's going on, and then to remind ourselves to stay calm, to remind ourselves that there's nothing to fear. This is easily debatable. This is something that a lot of people would disagree with. But generally speaking, when you're meditating, and what I normally see when I'm meditating, at most, is some colors. Normally, what I see, if I get really still and I'm quiet, I would just notice. I kind of just notice black, like different shades of gray and kind of blobs just going by. And when I do different types of breathing techniques, those blobs and things can start to kind of look like something like kaleidoscopes, or different colors. Like I see red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, violet, white, and black. So those are actually the colors of the energy centers. Red being the first center. Now these are also known as the chakras. So I'm going to go into just a very elementary, basic explanation of what I'm talking about. Energy centers, the base of the spine, that's a red energy center. When I place my attention on the energy center at the base of the spine, and I close my eyes and I'm meditating, I'm doing my breathing, if I'm moving energy and I'm doing breathing like this, if I want to move energy, it can be helpful to squeeze the muscles in the around the base of the spine, lower abdomen, upper abdomen, and squeezing those muscles, I can begin to move energy. And if I place my attention there and I close my eyes, sometimes if I'm focusing enough on a specific center, I will see red. Or if I place my attention on the second center, the lower abdomen, around the navel, I will see orange. If I place my attention on the upper abdomen, I will see yellow. If I place my attention on the heart center, the fourth center, I will see green. If I place my attention on the fifth center, I will see blue. If I place my attention on the sixth center, third eye, pineal gland, I will see purple. If I place my attention on the crown, top of the head, I will see violet. If I place my attention on whatever this center's called, it's up here somewhere, I will see white. If I place my attention on the lowest center, it's below our body. I'm just learning about these, so I don't know much about that center. I will see black. I believe it's black. I could be wrong. But there are energy centers that are around us as well. And I know just almost nothing about those at all. I haven't explored that yet. But the main centers are base of the spine through the crown, and there are 7 centers: base of the spine, lower abdomen, upper abdomen, heart center, throat, pineal gland, they're also known as the third eye and crown. 7 centers in the body. So when I place my attention on one of those for an extended period of time, I can begin to see the color of that center. And I think that that is pretty cool. I love it. And it kind of makes me want to try a different filter just for a time. Slate, I like that. Noir. Bubbles. 8mm. I just want to try that for a second. That's fun. 8mm. So there is a quote. I think it's Deepak Chopra. I'm not sure for. I'm not for certain, but um, it is, today I will step into the unknown, and in every moment I will lay my trust in the field of infinite possibilities. By trusting the unknown, I will find creativity, imagination, inspiration, intuition, insight, and conscious choice making. Yes, I love it. And with that, I want to, before I talk about it, I want to say I am not claiming, I am disclaiming to be to thought of as any kind of professional health care person, medical, anything of that sort. I am not a professional therapist or doctor or anything. In fact, I have no credentials whatsoever. So I'm not claiming to be giving advice of any kind. Please don't see it that way. It's just my opinion, my conjecture, what I have learned. And I want to talk about it because I have the right to do that within the guidelines of YouTube. And most importantly, I want to learn something. I want to practice repeating information that I've learned so that I can get better at saying it. And I think a live video is a good format for that. It's not a place to just be spewing my wisdom and advice for the purpose of telling people what to do and how to live. It's just, this is how I like to live. This is how some people like to live. This is how some people say things and they seem just really inaccurate. And my opinion is this and that. So it's strictly my opinion. And there's a way in which you can, like, for example, if I want to, what I've been doing is I'm just disclosing that there's a paid promotion. Well, in this live, unless I change something in the description, I'm not going to be promoting anything. But I put that on there because I want to cover my own butt in case I decide to promote something in the future, and just get in the habit of putting that out there. Um, just generally speaking, on my YouTube page, I may promote a product in the future. But for now, this is just, it's like a personal video blog or log, vlog, video log, exploring ideas, talking about some things that work. Now, if I ever talk about like something like how to be happy, how to deal with moods, how to overcome certain things, it is not advice. It's not professional advice. It is just what I do in addition to what is recommended by professionals. So, if I were to promote a product, that would be either affiliate marketing or some other kind of paid promotion. But um, I just want to hit on those two things: disclosing what I'm doing, and disclaiming. Right now, I'm not promoting anything, and I can't imagine myself ever being a professional advice giver. If you need health care, there are doctors for that. There are professionals for that, and that is by law. It's important to say that so that people aren't confused. So, with that said, the statement, the quote, "Today I will step into the unknown, and in every moment I will lay my trust in the field of infinite possibilities. By trusting the unknown, I will find creativity, imagination, inspiration, intuition, insight, and conscious choice making." So, that is very powerful. Just want to, like, let that sink in a little bit. That is exciting. What a wonderful world if we lived that way. It reminds me of just people that have gone out and they've stepped out of their house onto uh, an unknown journey, or a journey into unknown territory. And I can't but help but think of Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, which is a funny title, but it's a great title because it's like we're taking a journey and we don't know what's expected, and so we're just going to step into the unknown. It's wonderful. I imagine a person that's writing might say, you know what? We're just going to start this out. We don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to invent the world as it goes. And that's kind of what we do. We collaborate and we co create with all of that's that which is created. We create with the universe. We create with the creation. That's why it's the creation, because it's created. It's co-created. You would have to admit that if you did not make choices, or if you tried not to make choices, like for example, someone says, "Do you want grilled cheese or a bagel or a burger?" And if you just waited long enough, they'd say either get out of line, which is you just made a choice, or they might say, "Well, since you didn't say anything, you get a burger." So you by default got a burger. Or let's say what you really wanted was a burger, and they had these stale bagels with nothing on them, and the grilled cheese was just looked like it was cooked yesterday, and the burgers looked all juicy. But they said, "Do you want a burger, a bagel, or a grilled cheese?" And you just said, and they said, "Well, you get a bagel then, because you waited too long." You, by default, made a choice. And what you really wanted was a burger, and that's all you had to say. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Today I will step into the unknown. And then at the very end of this quote, and conscious choice making. By trusting the unknown, I will find creativity, imagination, inspiration, intuition, insight, and conscious choice making. Now, some of the comments that I see just out in the world, things that people say on the internet, it's not specific to messages to me, but one of the messages I got recently was about thing life taking out of me the unknown is taking more out of me than I expected. It's things like that. It's a common theme. Life is taking out of me. The unknown is taking. No! So it's not taking out of us unless we believe that it is. So again, the unknown is nothing to fear. When we close our eyes, maybe close our ears by putting something over them, covering them. Shut the door to a room and practice being in stillness and silence, no activity. The unknown cannot take anything out of us. So now that we know the truth, I'm assuming, like, for example, I know that. Now that I know that, I can remind myself of it. But how did I get there? How did I get to where I know that it can't take things out of me? I know it through practice and through experience. From my perspective, I have accumulated somewhere between 40,000 and about 200,000 hours, 250,000 or so, which is probably exaggerating. The 250 is probably exaggerating. But somewhere between that, I have spent in stillness. My intention, I was choosing to meditate and practice stillness. And I'm just guessing, but it's probably the lower end to 40,000, higher end 250,000 hours. So I spent a lot of time there. And some of the time when I'm practicing meditation, I am practicing what I would call a walking meditation. I'm not the only one that's called it that, but you can actually walk in the world and work in the world and sit. There's even meditations you can drive. Now, I want to say with that, please don't close your eyes and drive. I would never say that to anyone. What I'm talking about is a focused mind, a focused intent. You can do that when you're driving. In fact, you may notice, without even trying, just notice the next time you drive, if you're driving, notice that you're very focused. My favorite definition of meditation I've heard is to become familiar with. To become familiar with. So you're becoming familiar with. You are focused. There is intention. So my intention, probably the last 15 years, has been to 168-hour week to be in focused meditation. That's my intention. 168 times 52, that's 8,736 hours per year times 15, 131,040. So that's how I'm coming up with these numbers. Now, I would never instruct someone, and I'm not an instructor, I'm not a teacher, so I'm not in danger of instructing. I would never tell someone, just set an intention for 168 hours of meditation. No, don't do that. That's what I'm choosing. What might be helpful is to, and again, I'm not an instructor or a teacher, what might be helpful is to start with 5 seconds of focus. Because what I've noticed is that even in 5 seconds, in the way that people are so addicted to their phones, is that their attention span seems to be less than 5 seconds, less than 2 seconds in some people. So why not start with stopping to smell the roses, stopping, and when you're in a safe space, not a dangerous street corner, not a public space where someone could, grab your belongings easily, to be in a safe space environment where you can stop. And if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can just stop and focus. Have some dead air. And you may begin to get interested in what's in the unknown and what this person is talking about. I think it's Deepak Chopra. Today I will step into the unknown. And by the way, the principles in here and what I've read, the quote that I'm quoting, the quote that I'm quoting, the quote that I'm quoting, the principles are applied to anyone who sets an intention to go out on a journey. And I believe that in some small way, each of us has done this and can relate to it. Life on earth, the journey of our life on earth. So if somebody is beginning and doesn't realize that, I would invite you to, and again, I'm not a teacher, I would invite you to see if that's true. See if you've ever set an intention with yourself to have the courage to step out into the unknown possibilities, to begin to question what is just rammed down our throats in advertising, on the internet, on our phones, on TV, in books, in things that we're reading, in articles and things that people say. Question those things. And you don't even have to question things. You could just observe the unknown, observe the empty space, observe that. And I am almost certain you will begin to encounter what you think about. Because we have between 60 and 70,000 thoughts per day. Some of us are aware of almost nothing, which is funny. And I'm not making fun of people, but it's humorous because now that I look back, I've had so many observations of my thoughts that it's so obvious that I've had so many thoughts going back. I can see how there'd be 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Now, I want to choose a different filter. I like the bubbles, but I'm going to just go back to crush filter. So the reason that I'm pausing is that I have given myself permission to pause. And today's intention with my YouTube Live is to have no rules, no structure, but generally speaking, this YouTube channel is for me to talk about how to make yourself happy, how to be happy in a world that is so easy to become unhappy. And it seems like it's increasingly so. People that are choosing happiness, it's becoming really obvious. And people that are choosing something other than happiness, like sadness or depression, a lot of us are seemingly choosing by default. It's like the person at the line who internally they want a hamburger and they're giving a choice. They're given a choice of a hamburger, a crusty bagel. And by the way, I'm not against bagels. Bagels are wonderful, but sometimes they're just 3 days old and it's like a hard as a rock. So they have choice between a bagel, a burger that's juicy, and a sandwich, cheese sandwich that was cooked yesterday. And what the person really wants again is a juicy burger. And they stop when they're asked, they pause, and then they are just given the bagel by default. It's a metaphor for what we often do. We are by default choosing depression sometimes. And what I mean by depression is low energy. So, what I talk to people in my life about is how you can choose happiness. So, it's hard to hear when you're feeling when you've by default fallen into sadness, fallen into depression, fallen into grief. I understand that because I lived for a long time where I had fallen into, I had by default gone into depression. So I was in denial for a long time that I could even conceive. I'm not choosing this pain. But it's not about shame, it's not about blame, but I was by default choosing sadness. It was very innocent. There's nothing to be ashamed of. But it's so empowering when we see that because if we chose depression, I'm going to turn this fan off. If we by default chose depression, then we can choose happiness. And so, what I'd give to myself is, and what I suggest to you, I'm not recommending my advice, but maybe in addition to your health care, you can consider what can I do today to bring a molecule of happiness? What can I do to choose happiness, like just this much happiness? And that can be hard to hear when you're feeling very stuck. But that's what I do, and that actually works. I do it all day long. I set an intention. I choose. I focus. And sometimes it's just go into a different room. If I'm feeling low energy and I'm done resting, I don't need to rest anymore. If I just leave the room that I'm in, it can begin to help me to move into a different state. It's more achievable to add like this much happiness. Because once we start to add to our happiness, it can be exponential. So what can I do? Sometimes it's leaving the room, sometimes it's taking a sip of water. Sometimes it's I add like I'll take my tip my finger, put it into baking soda and lick that, because if there's any acidic feeling in my stomach, it can neutralize it. So again, not a professional. Just look it up. Look up heartburn cures. I don't want to get in trouble because people think I'm giving a bunch of healthcare advice. No, that's not what this channel is about. So sometimes it can be me getting into a cold shower. And for me, what I like to do is start the water at warm and then ever so gently move that toward cooler. It really can help. Also, am I getting enough sun exposure? Now, there are places where there's like a couple months where it's almost completely dark. There's very little, you hardly even see the sunrise at all. Way up in northern Alaska or Canada or northern Europe. But most of us, that even though in the northern hemisphere there's less sun, even in the coldest months, there's between 7 a.m. and like 4:30 p.m. It's bright out. So we can have sun exposure even in the coldest months. I've been out there when it's been very cold. I'm not talking about life-threateningly cold, but it's cold and I had my shirt off and I actually got some UV rays on my skin. Now, if you are afraid of the UV rays, then I highly recommend you check it out, talk to your doctor. Again, I'm not a professional anything. So, but what I feel comfortable doing is getting sun exposure, because when we expose ourselves to the rays of the sun, it is the best, most efficient way for our body to produce a high level of vitamin D. And from what I've read, we can use a lot of vitamin D. And I think that maybe, actually, I was going to say something that I don't agree with, so I won't. But I think that I've just found it so helpful. I just like my intuition tells me to go out into the sun. So do make your own. That's like the point of almost everything that I say is go out, make your own decision, listen to what people say, take control of your health. There are people that are licensed to give advice, and I'm not anything of those. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. It would be more empowering to talk to someone with a license, but for me, with a lot of experience that I have, a lot of the things that if I'm going to a source where, like in the United States, I think this is the only country where you're allowed to advertise pharmaceutical drugs. I think it's the only country. I'm not certain of it. There's a conflict there for me. I want to go to a doctor. If I'm going to go to a doctor for medication or for health advice, I want to be able to trust him that he's not going to just throw a bunch of meds at me so that he can say to the pharmaceutical companies that I promoted those meds. It's ridiculous. Go to a doctor that you can trust. Develop trust with the doctor, because there are licensed doctors that are trustworthy. And some of them, though they have licenses, I don't know. I just don't feel like I can trust them all. So that's just my experience. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional of finding a good doctor. figure it out for yourself. You can do it. We have genius minds, all of us, I believe. So, and anything I say can be taken out of context. But what I think is so valuable is to have someone around you that can remind you to think for yourself, have an original thought. It's so wonderful. Sometimes our doctors, therapists, nurses, health professionals, and really can apply to a lot of different industries. Sometimes you're given a choice. It's like you're at the restaurant again. You by default have gotten a crusty bagel. Such a funny example. You wanted the burger. One of the healthiest things that I hear people doing is they're diagnosed with this or that, and then they say, you know what? I want to get a second opinion. It's one of the healthiest things I've heard. And pharmaceuticals, some of them are wonderful, and others of them are not the best treatment. So it's worth talking about it. They are designed, and check this out for yourself again, they are designed to treat symptoms. They are not claiming to be a cure. They're there to treat symptoms, and they have effects. Some medications can be highly addictive. So, in addition to your care, why not do everything you can to where a doctor can't think for you? Oh my gosh. I'm all day long, no matter what job I'm doing, no matter what kind of work I'm doing, no matter what I'm focused on, I can always be noticing my thinking. It's wonderful. No one can do that for me. Even if you have the most highly developed technology where there's a neural link or there's some kind of device that's inside of our brain, it still can't think for us. Can't make decisions for us. We have the power. Please don't give up your humanity for a device. Please consider the fact that even if someone found a way to just read people's minds and to be able to project them onto a screen for all to see, even if we had that, we still have a choice. We still have the ability to choose to be a molecule happy. Animals and plants are just sprouting and blossoming and crawling around. They're instinctual. There seems to be much less of a choice going on there. But with us, no matter what the circumstances. So I'm testing this. I want to find out if I can feel what I want before I get what I want. For example, I want to have all of my bills paid and then some. I want to have enough money and to feel like I do, to feel no scarcity and to have so much that I can help other people with clothing and food, investing in other people's businesses, helping them. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to have a property that I own if I can, and to be able to have it be the size that I can actually do all the maintenance. And if I need someone, I can hire them. I have the money to do that. I don't want a property that's so big that I can't do all the work. I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to manage it. I want to be able to see, to some degree, to see what's going on. I love the idea of a ranch, but my gosh, I don't yet want a ranch because I don't want to manage a whole team yet. I'm not there yet. It sounds fun to try it on. Just makes my head spinning to think about it. I want to be able to, um, you know, manage the appliances, make sure everything's working properly, make sure the foundation is good, make sure the walls and the ceilings and the roof are in working order. I want to learn about a very basic home so I can learn how to get it up and running so that it's smooth and I'm paying for everything. That's what I want. And that, when I talk about that, it is wonderful, the feeling that I get. So it's worth appreciating. It's worth spending some time thinking about it. Oh my gosh, I'm thrilled about my home. The walls, they're stable. The roof, it's stable. It's been worked on. It's in working order. The floors, they're stable, they're working. The furnace, the air conditioning, it's flowing, it's filtered. The yard, we're taking care of the making sure that it's cleaned up and orderly enough so that it's not a uh, a an eyesore for people to look at. The sidewalk is clear so people can walk by. There's not just things strewn everywhere so that it's oh my gosh, I love my life. I love the place that I live. It's wonderful. Things are clean to where I know where everything is. I just appreciate everything about where I live. That is what I want. And I was outside of where I live, laying on the ground, closed my eyes for just a few minutes, and I thought, wow, this is everything that I would want in a vacation. If I want, there's food. If I want, there's drinks. If I want, there's clean water. If I want, there's people to play games with. If I want, there's entertainment around. Oh my gosh, what else could we want on vacation? I'm not saying don't go and travel the globe, but I'm on vacation every day because I take a time out to stop and to enjoy what's around. If there's snow on the ground, I can lay in the snow. Oh my gosh. I saw recently, I saw a 10-year-old sitting in the snow just a few months ago. They weren't cold. I was in the company of people where the child got out and went and sat in the stove. They were only out there for 5 minutes, but they were completely fine. They weren't freezing. So fun. The unknown, there's no time. There's no time in the unknown. One of the things I was going to do today was to, let's see, play a little music. And what I want to do is to play things that I make up. Because I don't want to mess around with things that other people wrote. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with licensing. So, I'm just going to try. This is my harmonica. It's pretty cool. I have my guitar too. But I might save that for another time. I wish you happiness. I wish you peace. I wish you the opposite of fear of the unknown, excitement of the unknown. Thank you for listening and watching.